You asked for it, so today I'm going to show you how I took a paddle headstock and shaped it into something exactly like this. We have a treat for you today. Today's going to be phase one of my Telecaster build. If you've been following my channel, you know that I've purchased some really cool guitar parts, namely a Telecaster body from Guitar Anatomy, as well as the hardware to go into that build, and a really nice roasted maple neck with a rosewood fretboard and a paddle headstock. Now, many of you out there may have never tried to shape your own headstock, and you might think that it's a big challenge and maybe not something that you're ready for. But in today's video, I want to show you that it's actually not that difficult, guys. This is the first time that I shape a paddle headstock myself, and I wanted to share the process with you guys, because if you're building your own guitars, maybe it's something that you've been thinking about doing, and hopefully this video can help you out. So I documented the entire process. I'm going to be talking you through it, and I'm going to be showing you the steps that I used to do this. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean these are the best steps or the only steps or the only way to do this. There's many ways you can go about doing it, but I wanted to show you specifically how to do this on a shoestring budget. Basically, no bandsaw, no router, no CNC machine, none of that, just the bare minimum, and I want to show you that it is indeed doable. So for those of you that don't have access to very many tools, this is perfect because you don't need much. In actual fact, all I used was regular sandpaper, a very inexpensive drum sanding bit that you can buy at any hardware store that you can basically attach to a drill press, and a template. And that was about basically it. You don't need much. If you have other tools or access to other tools, you can speed up the process, but you can still do it with just the bare minimum. And I'm going to show you how. Let's get started. All right, to start off the build, I downloaded this template off the internet. I'll show you exactly where to get that. I put the links in the comments below where you can download your own. Printed it out scale 1:1 and used that as my template. I cut out the perimeter of that shape using a regular old X-Acto and some steady hands, carved the entire perimeter as well as the hole locations for the tuning pegs, because those are going to help you align the template on your headstock, on your paddle headstock, so that you can make sure that you have everything in the correct location. Now, as you can see, when the holes are cut out in the template, I aligned those holes with the holes that were already cut in the paddle headstock to make sure that everything was properly aligned. Once you have the holes lined up with the paddle headstock, you know you're in the right location, and all you need to do at that point is tape it down using some plain old masking tape. There's a lot of wood that needs to be removed. You can speed up the process by cutting that away with a bandsaw or whatever other tools you may have. I did not have access to those tools for this, so I decided just to use the drum sander to sand it away slowly but surely. It takes a little bit more time, but you get some pretty good results at the end of it as long as you're patient. You can buy these drum sanding bits at any hardware store. It's probably going to cost you anywhere between $30 and $40. You have a variety of sizes that you can use, and it's best to use the drill bit attachments with a wider circumference first, and then work your way to the thinner ones to do the fine detailing. I find that worked best for me. I started off with the biggest one. This is the one I used. It's quite coarse, so you'll probably want to go back with some regular sandpaper, higher grit sandpaper, to remove some of the initial sanding lines that are going to be left. But that is something that you're going to want to do do anyways to smooth out the edges of the headstock and get a really nice final result. So here you can see how I went about getting this done. The drill press definitely helps you keep things parallel, 90 degrees, and not, have some weird angles on the edge. You want to make sure that you keep things as straight as possible. When I was about 1 millimeter away, I slowed it down a little bit just to make sure I wouldn't overshoot the template. A steady hand goes a long way for this, guys, so just take your time. So at this point, I'm pretty much parallel with the edge of the template. I don't want to go any further at this point, and I want to do the rest of the sanding by hand, very gently, using higher grit sandpaper. I started off with 600 and worked my way to about 800. You can go all the way up to 1,000 if you wish, depending on how smooth you want the surface to be. But if you go higher than that, you're probably going to put a little bit more polish on the wood. So, just use your judgment where you think you need to stop. With all the dust left over from the sanding, I took the opportunity to save a little bit of it by putting it in a pill bottle. I like to do this because it comes in handy if ever you want to plug some holes. You can make some easy wood filler that will match your neck very, very beautifully because it comes from the same wood, and you never know when you might need it down the road. So take an opportunity to think ahead and save some if you can. I took the opportunity at this point to use some 800 grit sandpaper just to go over the edge of the perimeter of the headstock to round it over a little bit, because they're never really perfectly square. You want to have a little bit of an edge there, so it's a good opportunity to break that edge a little bit and smooth it out. I also sanded out the front and back of the headstock just to make sure everything felt nice and there weren't any splinters. At this point, I used my hands to kind of feel around the edge of the neck to make sure everything was perfectly smooth and felt right and looked right. And I think I did a really nice job because it turned out really, really well. The back of the headstock is important. You have to also make sure that the taper that comes off the back of the headstock and merges with the neck is smooth, has a nice V shape to it. I used a file at that point just to get it into the ballpark, and then I finished sanding that section with some sandpaper until it felt right and smooth and there were no weird bumps or anything happening. It just felt natural and organic. I'll be applying some wax in a second, but I just wanted to show you what the front and sides and back of the neck look like at this point. You can see it's quite smooth. The taper onto the neck portion is really nice and gradual, and there's no weird shapes happening there. And I rounded over the entire edge so that it's felt really smooth and natural. And I'm going to be leaving it raw and just treating it with a little bit of wax because I like the feel of natural wax. The wax that I like to use is Howard's Feed and Wax. You can get this from Amazon. A regular bottle will last you a long, long time, and it gives you some really great results. It's just a little bit of wax and oil. So here you can see the neck. I treated half the neck with the Howard's Feed and Wax. The other one was untreated. You can see how the neck does become quite a bit darker. You just have to wipe it on and then wipe it off. Not a lot, just a little goes a long way, and it basically seals the pores of the wood. The wax makes it feel really, really smooth. Once it's on there, you can buff it out with a regular Scott towel and it'll, put a little bit of a shine on it. It'll feel baby smooth, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. I like this type of finish way more than a poly neck because it doesn't get sticky, feels really smooth, and I love the feel of natural wood under my fingers. So here's a little close-up where you can enjoy the look of the grain. You can see the bone nut there, the nice jumbo frets, the wooden rosewood fretboard there, and you can see how the light catches the accents in the wood that you can see as you turn it around and get some light on it. I like that feature. It really has a nice 3D look to it, which I think makes the neck look really nice. So being the first paddle headstock that I ever shaped. I'm really proud of myself. I think it came out extremely well. I hope you think it came out well too. It just feels great, feels natural. I used the Telecaster template because I like the Telecaster headstock. If you're into something different or you want something unique, this is perfect because you can make them, you can shape the headstock any way you want and make it your own. That's part of the fun right there. But I decided to go with something familiar because I just like the look of them. I'm familiar with them. I know what they should feel like, and it basically wasn't very difficult to shape it properly so that it feels pretty close to what I have on my pro builds. If you guys have been hesitant to attempt this for yourself, do not worry, it's actually not that difficult and you can get some really nice results. If you need a headstock, if you need a really nice neck, the folks over at Guitar Anatomy can set you up with these really cool necks, roasted maple, beautiful fretboard, beautiful finish on these things. I just oiled this up as I showed you in the video and it just feels wonderful, and I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm so excited to get this on the build. I can't wait to go to phase 2 and show you the next step in the process. So if you guys like this kind of information and I'm encouraging you to tackle your builds, we can do it together. Subscribe to the channel because I'll be giving you some really useful information on how you can do it yourself. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in to Addicted to Gear. I'm Tony. Stay tuned for more.